The artifact. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ESS Hawking, watching as her crew carefully maneuvered the ancient structure into the ship's massive cargo hold. The artifact, as they'd taken to calling it, was unlike anything humanity had encountered since achieving faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Final securing procedures complete, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. The artifact is locked down and ready for transport back to Sol. Sarah nodded, her eyes still fixed on the massive construct. Its surface was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow when viewed from different angles. The entire structure was approximately the size of an aircraft carrier, yet according to their scans, it was mostly hollow. "What do you make of those energy readings, Dr. Patel?" Sarah asked the ship's chief scientist, who hadn't left her instruments since they'd discovered the artifact floating in deep space 3 days ago. "Fascinating, Captain. Despite being powered down for what our dating suggests is over 50,000 years, there's still residual energy flowing through its systems. The technology. It's unlike anything in the Galactic Council's shared database." That last detail had been bothering Sarah since they'd confirmed it. The Council, while often condescending to younger species like humanity, had generally been forthcoming with technological and historical information. The fact that this artifact wasn't in their records suggested either an oversight, unlikely given the Council's methodical nature, or deliberate omission. "Captain," the communications officer interrupted her thoughts. "We're receiving a priority transmission from a Council vessel. They're requesting immediate communication." Sarah straightened her uniform. "Put them through to my ready room. Dr. Patel, you're with me." The holographic projection that materialized in her ready room showed a Valxid, one of the Council's senior races, the alien's crystalline form pulsed with bands of worried crimson. "Captain Chen," the Valxid's translator rendered its harmonic speech into English, "I am Administrator Ixel. You must cease all interaction with the artifact immediately. It is forbidden technology, scheduled for disposal." Sarah maintained her diplomatic composure. "Administrator, we found this artifact in unclaimed space. Under Article 7 of the Galactic Salvage Rights Treaty, that makes it human property. The treaty has exceptions for dangerous technologies, Captain. That artifact is a weapon platform of the precursor race. It was deemed too dangerous for any current civilization to possess." Dr. Patel spoke up, her scientific curiosity evident. "A weapon? Our scans show no conventional weapon systems. The energy matrix suggests something more akin to a massive computational device." The administrator's crystalline form flashed deep purple, a sign of frustration Sarah had learned to recognize. "It is not a conventional weapon, Doctor. It is something far more dangerous, a solar forge. It can reshape stellar matter itself. In the wrong hands, it could destroy entire star systems." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, but also a surge of possibility. Humanity had been struggling with resource limitations as they expanded through space. The ability to forge new elements from solar matter could solve countless problems. "Administrator," Sarah chose her words carefully, "humanity has proven itself a responsible member of the galactic community. Instead of destroying this artifact, let us study it, under Council supervision, if necessary." "Impossible. Your species is too..." Ixel paused, searching for the right word. "Adaptive. You find ways to use technology that even its creators never imagined. The Council has observed how quickly you've modified other species' innovations for new purposes. This artifact is too dangerous." Sarah smiled slightly. What Ixel saw as a warning, she saw as humanity's greatest strength. "With respect, Administrator, we've already begun preliminary analysis. The artifact's base programming appears to have safeguards that would prevent stellar manipulation without extensive modifications. You've accessed its systems." Ixel's form pulsed with alarm. "In 3 days. That should be impossible. The precursor systems are quantum-locked to prevent tampering." Dr. Patil cleared her throat. "We didn't hack it, Administrator. We asked it nicely. The AI core responded to our attempts at communication. It seems the precursors valued curiosity and learning as much as we do. Sarah watched the administrator's reaction carefully. There was something more here, something about humanity specifically that worried them. The Council's decision is final, Ixel stated. You will surrender the artifact for disposal or face sanctions. I'll need to consult with Earth Command, Sarah replied diplomatically. Surely you understand I can't make such a decision unilaterally. After the transmission ended, Dr. Patel turned to Sarah. Captain, that AI. It's been sharing data with us willingly. I don't think it's a weapon at all. I think it's a teaching tool meant to help civilizations advance their understanding of stellar engineering. Sarah nodded. And the Council is terrified of humanity learning those lessons too quickly. She turned to her comm panel. Bridge, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. She looked back at Dr. Patel. Keep studying that artifact. Something tells me we're going to need to understand it very well, very quickly. As the ESS Hawking jumped to FTL, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if they'd just stumbled upon something that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The Council's fear wasn't of the artifact itself, she realized, but of what humanity might become with access to its knowledge. They were right to be afraid. The warning. The Galactic Council's emergency session was the largest gathering of species in over a century. The grand amphitheater on Axis Prime buzzed with the voices, clicks, and telepathic murmurs of over 300 different civilizations. At the center of the storm stood Fleet Admiral Helena Ross, Earth's representative, facing the Council's inner circle. You've had the artifact for 3 weeks. High Speaker Morix's tentacles writhed in agitation. Our sensors detect active power signatures. You were instructed not to activate it. Helena stood her ground, her silver hair and decorated uniform reflecting the chamber's ambient light. The artifact activated itself. Speaker. As we've reported, it contains an advanced AI that chose to wake up. We're simply having a conversation with it. Impossible. A crystalline voice chimed. Administrator Ixel floated forward. The precursor eye was dormant for 50,000 years. It wouldn't simply wake up for humans. Actually, Helena allowed herself a small smile. It woke up because we were the first species to say please and thank you when attempting contact. Apparently, the precursors programmed their AI to respond to civilizations that showed both technological aptitude and ethical consideration. A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. Several younger species representatives leaned forward with obvious interest. This is precisely what concerns us, Morix's voice boomed. In 3 weeks, you've learned more about precursor technology than the Council has in millennia. Your species advances too rapidly. You don't take proper time to consider consequences. Helena's eyes narrowed. With respect, Speaker, we've done nothing but consider consequences. Our scientists have been working with the AI to understand the safeguards and ethical protocols built into the Solar Forge. It's not a weapon. It's a tool for helping civilizations advance sustainably. A tool that could easily become a weapon, Ixel countered. Your species turned simple fusion technology into planet crackers within a decade of discovering it. Defensive weapons, Helena corrected, after the Cricks attempted to colonize Mars. Weapons we've never used, despite having ample justification during the Proxima conflict. The chamber grew quiet. The Proxima incident was still fresh in many minds, when humanity had chosen diplomacy over force, even when attacked, and managed to turn enemies into allies. A new voice joined the debate. Councillor Zena, representing one of the younger spacefaring races, stepped forward. Perhaps we should consider that humanity's rapid advancement isn't a bug in the system, but a feature. They've shown remarkable restraint with their military capabilities, focusing instead on adaptation and innovation. They defy natural order. Another elder species representative argued. Look at their genetic engineering programs, their AI integration, their quantum manipulation technologies. They take pieces from every species they encounter and create something new, something unpredictable. Helena had heard enough. That's called learning, she said firmly. And yes, we learn quickly. We adapt. We innovate. But we also remember our history, the mistakes we've made and their costs. That's why we have the strongest ethical oversight committees in the galaxy. Why we share our medical advances freely. Why we've helped terraform worlds for species whose homes were dying. She gestured to the younger species representatives. Ask them about humanity. Ask how many of their worlds we've helped develop sustainable energy systems. Ask how many of their children study in our universities. Ask how many of their ships use our improved FTL drives. Drives we developed by studying and improving upon Council technology. A low buzz of conversation filled the chamber as species conferred with each other. Helena pressed her advantage. The precursor AI chose to wake up for us because it recognized something you fear. We don't just advance technology. We advance responsibility. Each breakthrough comes with new ethical frameworks. Each discovery leads to new safeguards. We learn fast because we have to. Because we remember being the species that nearly destroyed itself and vowed never to let that happen again. Morix's tentacles curled inward, a sign of deep thought. Pretty words, Admiral, but they do not change the Council's decision. You will surrender the artifact. Or, Helena raised an eyebrow. Or we will be forced to take action to preserve galactic stability. The Council has voted. You have one standard week to comply. Helena straightened her uniform. I will convey your message to Earth Command. But I suggest you spend that week asking yourselves this. If humanity is as dangerous as you claim, is threatening us really your wisest course of action? As she left the chamber, Helena's communicator buzzed. Dr. Patel's voice came through, excited despite the encryption distortion. Admiral, you need to see this. The AI, it's showing us something incredible. Something about why the precursors created the solar forge in the first place. I'm on my way back, Helena replied. And Doctor, tell Captain Chen to begin evacuation of all non-essential personnel from the research station. Something tells me we're about to have company. The Council chambers erupted in argument after her departure, but Helena didn't care. She'd seen the fear in their eyes, not of the artifact, but of humanity's potential. What they didn't understand was that humanity's greatest potential lay not in the technology they could create, but in their ability to use it wisely. And soon, they would prove it. The test. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the artifact's central chamber aboard Research Station Archimedes, surrounded by holographic displays of stellar matter simulations. The precursor eye, which they'd nicknamed Mentor, was showing her something that made her heart race, with both excitement and fear. Admiral Ross, she called out as Helena entered the chamber. Mentor just revealed why the solar forge was created. It wasn't for weapons or even resource generation. It was for saving dying stars. Before Helena could respond, the station's alert system blared to life. Captain Chen's voice cut through the noise. Admiral, we have multiple hostile signatures dropping out of FTL. Council registry. It's the preservation fleet. Helena's face hardened. Sooner than expected. How many ships? 37 capital ships. Admiral, they're deploying in attack formation. The preservation fleet, the Council's military arm, officially tasked with preserving galactic stability. They were notorious for overwhelming force and asking questions later. Status of the evacuation. Helena asked, already moving toward the command center. Non-essential personnel are away. Research teams are backing up data now. But Admiral, there's something else. The system's star is showing unusual activity, some kind of quantum fluctuation we've never seen before. Maya's eyes widened as she studied Mentor's displays. It's not the star, Captain. It's them. They're using quantum destabilizers, trying to trigger a premature solar flare to disable our shields. Helena reached the command center, taking in the tactical display. The preservation fleet had them surrounded, their formation preventing any escape through conventional FTL routes. They're not here to negotiate, she muttered. "They're here to make an example of us." The lead council ship's transmission cut through their comms. "Human Research Station Archimedes, this is Executor Vex. Surrender the precursor artifact immediately or face annihilation. You have 5 minutes to comply." Helena turned to Maya. "Doctor, you said Mentor was showing you something about saving stars." "Yes, the solar forge was created to stabilize dying star systems. The precursors built it to preserve life, not destroy it. But we've barely scratched the surface off. Can it stabilize a star that's being deliberately destabilized?" Maya's eyes lit up with understanding. "Better. If I'm reading these simulations correctly, it can redirect solar energy. But Admiral, we'd need to fully activate the artifact. The Council would see that as an act of war." Helena smiled grimly. "Pretty sure we're past that point." She opened a channel to the preservation fleet. "Executor Vex, this is Admiral Ross. We request 10 minutes to power down the artifact safely. An improper shutdown could have unfortunate consequences." A pause. "You have 7 minutes, Admiral. No more." Helena turned to her crew. "Maya, you have 6 minutes to link Mentor to our systems and prepare for full activation. Captain Chen, get our shield harmonics synchronized with the artifact's quantum signature. Everyone else, battle stations." The next 6 minutes were a blur of activity. Maya worked with Mentor, her fingers flying over holographic interfaces as the AI helped integrate its systems with human technology in ways the precursors had never imagined. The preservation fleet held position, weapons charge, watching. "They're powering up their destabilizers," Captain Chen reported. "Quantum fluctuations increasing. Our shields won't hold against a focused solar flare." "They don't need to," Helena said calmly. Maya, "Ready. Admiral, Mentor understands the plan. It's actually excited. Says this is the kind of innovative thinking the precursors hope to find." Helena opened a channel to all human ships in the system. "All vessels, link your shield systems to Archimedes. Whatever happens, stay in formation." Then to the preservation fleet. "Executor Vex, I'm afraid we'll need a little more time. Our systems are being uncooperative. Time's up. Admiral, you were warned." The preservation fleet fired their destabilizers in unison. The system's star churned, a massive solar flare building, aimed directly at the research station. "Maya, now." The artifact hummed to life, its geometric patterns pulsing with energy. As the solar flare erupted toward them, something extraordinary happened. The flare didn't impact their shields. It flowed around them, guided by the artifact's fields, forming a swirling vortex of plasma that connected all the human ships in a glowing network. "Quantum conversion field stable," Maya reported excitedly. "Mentor's helping us translate the solar energy into shield power. We're at 300% capacity and rising." The preservation fleet's weapons fired, but their energy weapons were absorbed into the plasma network, making it stronger. Conventional projectiles bounced off shields now too powerful to penetrate. By the void, Executor Vex's voice carried genuine awe. "What have you done?" Helena allowed herself a small smile. "We did what humans always do, Executor. We adapted. That artifact you feared we'd turn into a weapon. We just used it to turn your own attack into a defense system. One that can protect not just us, but entire star systems." "Admiral," Maya called out, "Mentor says we can reconfigure the plasma network to disable their ships without harming the crews. Should we?" "No," Helena's voice was firm. "Open a channel to the entire fleet." She waited for confirmation, then spoke. "This is Admiral Helena Ross. We have no desire for conflict. The precursor artifact is a tool for preservation, not destruction. Exactly what your fleet claims to stand for. We invite you to stand down and send scientists to collaborate with us. Together, we can use this technology to protect worlds, not threaten them. The choice is yours." The silence that followed felt eternal. Finally, Executor Vex spoke. Perhaps we should talk, Admiral. As the tension began to ease, Maya looked at the swirling plasma network with wonder. They thought we'd use this to destroy stars, she said softly. They never imagined we'd use it to build bridges. Helena watched as the preservation fleet powered down their weapons. That's always been their mistake, Doctor. They look at human ingenuity and see only threat. They forget that the same drive that lets us turn technology to our advantage also drives us to find better solutions. The artifact's patterns pulsed in what almost seemed like approval, as humanity proved once again that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't the ability to destroy, it was the wisdom to choose not to. The revolution. The Grand Archive on Axis Prime had never seen such activity. Representatives from dozens of younger species crowded the usually quiet halls, all seeking information about the precursors and their technology. At the center of the commotion stood Dr. Maya Patel, surrounded by eager scientists from across the galaxy. The key was never about raw power, she explained, gesturing to a holographic display of the Solar Forge's basic principles. It was about understanding that advancement without wisdom is meaningless. The precursors didn't want inheritors who could merely use their technology. They wanted those who would understand why it was created. A Nexarian scientist, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with excitement, raised an appendage. But how did you decode their ethical protocol so quickly? Our best researchers spent decades just trying to access basic precursor data structures. We didn't decode them, Maya smiled. We recognized them. The precursors built safeguards that resonated with universal principles: compassion, curiosity, responsibility. Mentor didn't just wake up because we said please. It woke up because it recognized those principles in our actions. In orbit above, Admiral Ross stood on the observation deck of the ESS Hawking, watching ships from various species come and go. Beside her, Captain Chen studied a datapad showing the latest diplomatic updates. 17 species have formally requested to join the Solar Forge Research Initiative, Sarah reported, including, surprisingly, 3 members of the preservation fleet who were present during the confrontation. And the Council? Still debating. The younger species are pushing for reform, demanding access to technologies the Council has been keeping safe for millennia. The preservation fleet incident was a tipping point, proof that technological advancement doesn't have to mean destruction. Helena nodded, watching a Nexarian science vessel dock with the station. They're calling it the Unity Revolution in some sectors. Not a shot fired, not a life lost, but the balance of power is shifting nonetheless. A gentle chime announced another visitor. Executor Vex entered the observation deck, their crystalline form slightly less rigid than during their last encounter, a sign of growing comfort with humans. Admiral Ross. Vex's translator rendered their harmonic speech. The Council has completed their preliminary review of the Solar Forge incident. I thought you should hear the findings directly. Helena gestured for them to continue. The analysis shows that human innovation did not merely repurpose the technology, you improved it. The precursor AI confirms that your method of harmonizing shield systems through plasma channeling was never part of its original programming. You created something new, something even the precursors hadn't envisioned. That's what we do, Sarah interjected. We see possibilities. Indeed. Vex's form shimmered with what might have been amusement. The Council is struggling with this reality. For eons, we have been the guardians of advanced technology, believing younger species needed to be protected from their own ambitions. Now we face evidence that perhaps it was our protection that stunted their growth. Maya, who had joined them during Vex's explanation, spoke up. Mentor has been sharing insights about the precursors' philosophy. They believe that true advancement only comes through collaboration, different perspectives working together to solve common challenges. A philosophy your species seems to have intuited, Vex observed. Your universities have always welcomed alien students. Your research teams actively seek diverse viewpoints. Even your military strategies emphasize adaptation over overwhelming force. Because we learned the hard way that isolation breeds stagnation, Helena said quietly. Earth's history is full of civilizations that fell because they feared change, feared outsiders, feared the unknown. We decided to learn from those mistakes. The observation deck fell silent as a massive ship dropped out of FTL, the personal vessel of High Speaker Morix. The council leadership had arrived for the emergency session that would determine the new direction of galactic society. They're afraid, Vex said softly, not just of humans now, but of change itself. The younger species are demanding access to their heritage. The preservation fleet's own members question their role. Everything is shifting. Helena smiled. Change is scary, but it's also inevitable. The question isn't whether to change, but how to change wisely. She turned to Maya. How's Mentor feeling about all this? Optimistic, actually. It says this is exactly what the precursors hoped would happen. Not one species discovering their legacy, but many species coming together to build upon it. They left us tools, not weapons. The difference lies in how we choose to use them. Through the viewport, they watched as ships from across the galaxy continued to arrive. A physical representation of the transformation taking place. The old order of restriction and fear was giving way to something new. Collaboration, innovation, and shared progress. The Council will adapt, Vex said with surprising certainty. We must. The alternative is to become irrelevant. Helena nodded. That's the thing about revolution. Sometimes the most powerful ones don't require a single shot fired. They just need a moment, a catalyst, that shows everyone a better way is possible. As they watched the gathering fleet, all present felt the weight of the moment. Humanity hadn't just proved themselves worthy of precursor technology. They'd shown the galaxy that advancement and wisdom could go hand in hand. The revolution wasn't just changing who had access to technology. It was changing how the galaxy thought about progress itself. And this was only the beginning. The New Order. 1 year after the Preservation Fleet incident, the changed face of galactic civilization was visible from the newly constructed Unity Station orbiting Axis Prime. The massive structure, built through collaboration between 27 species using both precursor and modern technology, served as a symbol of the new galactic order. Admiral Helena Ross stood in the station's central chamber, now called the Forum of Progress, watching representatives from across the galaxy work together at various research stations. The chamber's design itself reflected the change. Gone were the hierarchical tiers of the old council chambers, replaced by circular workspaces that encouraged collaboration. Admiral, a familiar crystalline voice called. Executor Vex, now serving as the head of the newly formed Galactic Science Coalition, approached with Maya Patel and several alien scientists. The first trials of the Stellar Preservation Network are complete. Maya's excitement was palpable as she brought up a holographic display. 3 dying star systems successfully stabilized. The combined expertise of Nexarian plasma physics, Valxid crystal technology, and human adaptive algorithms made it possible to extend the Solar Forge's range far beyond what even the precursors achieved. Mentor seems quite pleased, a young Nexarian scientist added, their tendrils glowing with pride. It says we're exceeding the precursors' expectations for species collaboration. Helena smiled, remembering the fear that had once surrounded the artifact. Now, similar precursor technologies were being discovered and activated across the galaxy, each responding to the same principles of ethical advancement that had awakened Mentor. Speaker Morix, her comm unit announced, requests your presence in the Coalition Chamber. The Coalition Chamber, unlike its council predecessor, was designed for roundtable discussions. Morix's tentacles moved more fluidly now, adaptation to change evident even in their physical manner. Admiral Ross, Morix began, the Coalition has reviewed the proposal from Earth regarding the Universal Education Initiative. The concept of opening all species universities to students from across the galaxy is ambitious. Humanity's greatest advances came when we shared knowledge freely, Helena replied. We believe the same will be true for the galaxy. There are concerns about technology transfer, about maintaining cultural identity. With respect, Speaker, a new voice interrupted. A young Valksid representative, their crystalline form shimmering with determination, stepped forward. Those are old fears. Look what we've achieved in 1 year of open collaboration. The Stellar Preservation Network, the Quantum Communication Grid, advances in medicine that have saved millions across multiple species. Morix's tentacles curled thoughtfully. Indeed, our old way, hoarding knowledge, fearing change, nearly cost us the very progress we sought to protect. They turned to Helena. The coalition approves the initiative, but we would request human assistance in implementing the necessary frameworks. Of course, Helena agreed. We've learned from our own mistakes. Cultural exchange programs, ethical oversight committees, collaborative research protocols. We've developed systems to help different cultures learn from each other while preserving what makes them unique. Later, walking through Unity Station's promenade with Maya, Helena watched ships from across the galaxy dock at the massive structure. Each vessel carried scientists, students, or diplomats eager to participate in the new age of collaboration. Did you ever imagine this? Maya asked, gesturing to a group of young aliens excitedly discussing theoretical physics with human researchers. When we first found the artifact, did you think it would lead to all this? Helena considered the question. I hoped. Humanity's strength was never just in our ability to adapt technology. It was in our ability to imagine better possibilities. We looked at a weapon and saw a tool for preservation. We faced fear with innovation instead of force. The Council feared we would destroy the galactic order, Maya mused. In a way, we did. We just replaced it with something better. A soft chime emanated from a nearby terminal. Mentor's way of joining conversations. The AI had grown beyond its original programming, learning and evolving alongside the species it now helped guide. The precursors would be proud. Mentor's translated voice stated. They left their legacy not as a test, but as a hope that species would rise above fear and isolation to build something greater together. Speaking of building, Helena said, pulling up a holographic display of a massive construction project. How's the first intergalactic university coming along? Maya beamed, ahead of schedule. Turns out when you combine human determination, Nexarian architecture, Valksid crystal engineering, and half a dozen other species' expertise, the impossible becomes merely challenging. Through the station's vast windows, they could see Earth in the distance, a small blue marble that had changed the course of galactic history not through force or fear, but through the simple belief that progress was best achieved together. You know what the younger species are calling this era? Maya asked. The human revolution, not because we conquered or dominated, but because we showed them a different way. Helena shook her head, smiling. No, this isn't the human revolution. This is the unity revolution. We just helped light the spark. The galaxy was ready for change, ready to move past fear and isolation. All that needed was someone to take the first step. As if in response, a new ship emerged from FTL, the first vessel built jointly by 7 different species, incorporating technologies and insights from across the galaxy. Its name, displayed proudly on the hull in multiple languages, said everything about the new era. Unity Ndavor. The galaxy had feared human adaptability, human innovation, human determination. In the end, those very traits had helped forge not a weapon, but a bridge to a future where progress wasn't something to be feared and contained, but something to be shared and celebrated. And that was humanity's greatest achievement of all.